Justice Miriam Masonville gave a stern warning to people in the gallery to improve their behavior. It came after supporters of the victim laughed during parts of the accused's testimony. Most of the chuckles came after Brent White said he acted in self-defense after Justice Daniel randomly bit him on the neck as they watched TV at the 77-year-old's Tatlow Park cottage in December of 2021. White said Daniel continued his attack and told him he was Iblis, the Islamic name for Satan, prompting the 54-year-old to use his knife in response.
There's either something wrong with him or he's just using some blind faith move that, you know, the courts are going to listen to him.
Andrew Brom said Daniel became a close friend and a caretaker of his son who he was raising alone.
Get this, right? A 77-year-old man. When I let Justice go in 2017, after working for me for over a decade, he was such an old, frail person. Like, he only has one lung.
White said he conducted research after the incident that led him to believe Daniel had vampire-like tendencies. Crown Prosecutor Colleen Smith asked White's lawyer, Brent Anderson, if they planned to pursue a mental illness defense. Anderson said they would not. Smith began her cross-examination, asking White about his mental health. "Do you believe you've ever hallucinated?" she said. "No," White responded. "Do you believe objects have ever spoken to you?" "No," White repeated. He's facing a charge of second-degree murder. With the trial nearing the end, Brom hopes there's justice for justice.
He was just an amazing guy.
Smith.
So I'd like to talk about grief and loss and how do you handle things? Like, how do you handle things that you just can't or don't believe you could ever handle? Now, I met this gentleman back in 2007 when he gave me shit for not taking care of my son. My son was about 2.5 years old. He slipped on the slide in the park, and this gentleman was a caretaker, and he went inside his little cottage where he was caretaking and got a Band-Aid for my kid, and, you know, came out and we had this long talk, and I knew within 5 minutes that I wanted to hire this guy at some capacity in my company, and it just blew me away. A couple of hours later, I'm like, this is it. This is the guy that's going to help me with my son. I was a single dad at the time. My son living with me full-time. Full-time means, like, there was about 2 hours a week that I could pass my son off to someone else that was 100% trustworthy. You know you can trust someone when you have a child and you can leave your child with them. That's when you know you can trust someone. Anyways, I felt after listening to this guy's story that I could trust him. At least I wanted to try. And he was a senior. He was in his 60s. Retired. He was a retired prison guard from Ocala. If anybody doesn't know what Ocala is, it's one of the toughest prisons back in BC back in the day. He was also a tugboat operator, and also he was a single dad, sharing a child half-time with his son's mother. So I knew we could collaborate on many different things at many different levels, and that relationship lasted. The relationship lasted a long time. Now, the reason I'm giving you a little backstory is just for this reason. I would have never thought in a quadrillion years, that's a big number, that someone like Daniel would ever be attacked by anyone. Never. So to hear what happened was so mortifying. Like, he was such a kind person. The guy would, like, walk the streets, like he's walking the alleys, and he would be like, "Oh, I think that person that owns that hair salon would like that frame that's in the alley." So he'd, like, grab the frame and he'd clean it up, and then he'd offer it to them and say, "Hey, I think you'd like this." And that's just the type of person he was, just a super kind person. So when I learned that Justice was murdered, that was a whole nother level of how do you deal with this? And, you know, there's no There's no right way and there's no wrong way to answer a situation like this. The guy would, like, walk the streets, like he's walking the alleys, and he would be like, "Oh, I think that person that owns that hair salon would like that frame that's in the alley." So he'd, like, grab the frame and he'd clean it up, and then he'd offer it to them and say, "Hey, I think you'd like this." And that's just the type of person he was, just a super kind person. So when I learned that Justice was murdered, that was a whole nother level of how do you deal with this? And, you know, there's no there's just not. There's not. It's just no. Just there's someone's in an electric car and it's going beep beep beep. Man, I can't stand those electric things. There's just no way to handle. There's no textbook answer. You know, I could go in all the books over the past 30 years that I've been studying and learning about trauma and grief and loss and counseling and how to deal with things and how to train people so that they can get through their grief and get through their loss. But the reality is just this: it's the person that this happens to that has to deal with it, and they're going to deal with it many different ways. They might have the personality where they might be able to take information in from a counselor and actually do some practice, do some work around how to deal with grief and loss. There's lots of different ways, but ultimately, for me, what do I do? And I have no idea how I'm standing over the past few years. I watched a person that I knew briefly as I was driving across the bridge on, May 29th, 2022, which was about 8 months after Justice was stabbed 52 times. And just to say that, you kind of got to go what do you do? Anyways, I was driving across the Lionsgate Bridge, and Buddy was hanging off the other side of the hand railing. And anyways, he ended up jumping as a result of someone that interjected themselves into me negotiating with the gentleman that ultimately jumped. This guy just barged in and is like, I'm a blah, blah, blah negotiator in crisis and trauma. And I'm like, oh, cool. I just took all my courses and my certificate in relation to that. The same place that these guys go to school. I'm not going to mention it was a VPD, off-duty VPD officer. And I made several complaints and I went right to the top. But ultimately, it's the police who hire people to watchdog them, and I got nowhere. I mean, I didn't even get heard. I got heard, but I didn't get listened to. I got heard, but I didn't get listened to. So anyways, how do you deal with this shit, right? How do you deal with it? Well, you get up in the morning, you make a plan to get through it. Now, the quicker you can get back into your regular routine, the better. Quite amazingly, when my father passed away, my mom and dad had 7 children. They were together 50 years, a couple of months after. Anyways, some of my siblings were upset that my mom was just getting rid of stuff, just getting rid of the clothes, getting rid of everything that would visually remind her of my father. So the clothes, to this, to that, and kept a few real important personal items, right? But just got rid of everything. And I think that's the most important, is to get up and get on as soon as you can. That's the most important thing. Just that. I'm going to turn around. Woohoo. That is absolutely the most important thing, is to get up and get on with your life. Get a counselor. Get someone that's not a family member. I always love this coin. I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear so that you will like me better. Did you hear that one? Yeah. So we'll go into a counseling session and we're going to look at the counselor. We're going to eye them up and we're going to go, how am I going to get out of here as quick as I can? Because I don't want to deal with this. Because ultimately you just want to erase it from your system, and you can't. And I understand the severity of having a friend or a loved one or a family member murdered. Now, I've never dealt with that, but I've dealt with it a few times professionally, but never personally. How do you deal with it? In all my episodes in life, all my episodes, what is that, Beavis and Butthead? I kind of look like Beavis or Butthead right now with my hair. I think the most important thing is just you have a routine, you follow it, You communicate with people that are going to pick you up, not put you down. Stay off the sauce. Everyone today's drinking. Like when this pandemic thing happened and everyone's drinking, they allowed people to drink in the parks, and that was just stupid. I mean, it was just like, what are you doing, bro? Like, this government absolutely went top shelf, left side of the shelf where all the shit happens, where all the bad things happen, and they pulled out all the books on how to our community, our society. It's true. It's like, why would you do that? They started offering drugs to people, like just left, right, and center. I know I was part of that mass experiment. I was on a lot of opiates, prescribed and unprescribed. It is what it is. Like, right? Maybe I ran out once or twice, and I had other friends that had spinal cord injuries that I didn't have to deal with the doctors for a day. It is what it is. Like, I think just the most important thing in relation to like getting through life is having a couple of good people in your life that will tell you the truth. A real friend will treat you like a true enemy. Hence, they're going to tell you what it is you don't want to hear. And then they're going to stand there and support you in it. So if any of that helped, I hope it did. Coincidentally enough, the craziest thing is this. When I learned that my friend was murdered, I was just weeks after I had walked away from a 21-year career running running group homes. I was like 2 weeks out of work, and I'm in school. I'm sitting there in school, and the partner that I'm with in the class is actually not only a friend, but he's actually someone that worked for me years ago in my group homes. So luckily that happened. I don't know why Aaron was there at that time, but God bless Aaron. He's always been a true friend. He's been one of those guys that tells you what you don't want to hear. You got to hear it, right? So that happened just then, and we just found out a couple of weeks ago. Of course, we went through this whole process where, the guy has told us now that he's claiming self-defense because my 77-year-old friend that was frail and I could push him over with my finger, is claiming self-defense because my buddy is like a vampire. And I had to sit there for 2 weeks and listen. That's why we were laughing in the courtroom, because it was so astronomically ridiculous. It's just stupid. Just retarded. It is what it is. Anyways, we're gonna hear the court findings and everything on April the 26th, which is a day after my birthday. Why does this happen? Why did I get married on like a day before my birthday? When ultimately, don't get married on your birthday. Because if it doesn't work out, your birthday is forever never going to be the same. And just remember, right? If you're going through a divorce right now, I really want you to just be clear. You don't get divorced from someone, you get divorced to them. Money-wise, like in the taxes, like it's single, married, divorced, widowed. You don't go from single to married to single. You go from single to married to divorced or widowed. Yeah, God bless justice. And if you're out there struggling, God bless you. And find someone that's going to tell you the truth and be there to support you. God bless. This is Drew Cooper out.